Hello, this is Mr. Deckard. I'm here this afternoon, as promised, making a video on Sculptris. Sculptris is a 3D sculpting program. It's the free version, stripped down version of the professional grade ZBrush made by Pixelogic. If you're at home viewing this, you can download this to your computer so long as you have internet, and chances are, if you are connected to any kind of a computer at all, it will be strong enough to run this program if you're careful about watching your triangles, which we've discussed in class. With that, I guess I might as well go ahead and jump into the program. And here we go, makers of ZBrush, as you see. And you open up, and what you have on your screen is your sphere. You start in front view, which you see right down there on the bottom. You have a center line, which is your symmetry line. And symmetry is on, and you want to leave that on for what we're going to do, because we're just going to sculpt something out very, very quickly. And I'm hoping this whole video takes less than 15 minutes. And if it doesn't, then I may edit it down and make sure that it does. And we'll see. I'm also experimenting with capture programs, and I'm experimenting with video editing, so things may be a little bit raw the first few times I do this, but it'll get better. It'll get better, and this hopefully is helpful. Now, I have some tools down here that you don't have, and this is because I have a digital drawing pad over here to the other side, which, if you're viewing this, I need to point that way. And yeah. That being said, what it does, because it's a drawing pad and I draw directly on the glass, it requires a different set of tools. But just ignore this. This won't be visible on your screens at school. Won't matter. Probably not at home either, unless you have a digital drawing pad. Now, this is the symmetry. Leave this on. This is the wireframe. You can turn that on and see your triangles. The triangles are reported down here in the lower left-hand corner. We currently have 2,048 triangles. This is what they're referencing. Mask mode, we won't mess with that for now. Subdivide, do not touch that. Reduce, leave those alone. We're going to be focusing up here. Now we want to start with our grab tool. And we also want to pull our details, see it right here? We want to pull that all the way to the right. And what that will do is it's going to make our file bigger, but it will give us more triangles in a tighter pattern, and that enables us to do more detail. Because if we start to pull this out, really pull this out, then we could run into some trouble if our detail setting is too low. Now, here we go again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll my mouse wheel backwards, which will scale out. And you notice that my strength is set all the way to the right. My size is about halfway. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to set this up for a human head. And usually I start with a jaw, but today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to come in from the side. And what I want to do is have that center line straight out like this. And if you notice the yellow circle there, the yellow circle represents what the brush will actually touch. So if I have any kind of tool on, everything that happens will happen inside of that yellow circle. And what I do is I use the scroll in and out to zoom in and out, and that determines the size of the area that's affected. Now, I can manually change the brush size, but that takes a lot longer. It's a lot more of a pain. And the truth is that most often, in this program at least, you can accomplish the same task by simply scrolling out. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click and hold. I'm going to start bringing that in. We'll see how that looks. Now, what I want is more or less a human sort of dimension, and this is starting to get there. Then I'm going to rotate to the side, scroll in a bit, so that my circle is about something like that size. I'm going to try to get to the center line right there as close as I can, and pull down and pull forward a bit. And what I'm doing is just kind of nudging this out. Then I want to rotate down slightly, grab where the forehead would be, and just bring it forward slightly. And what that does is it gives me a good vertical line, more or less right here. Now, if your stuff doesn't look exactly like mine, don't sweat it. Do not sweat it. Human heads come in all shapes and sizes, and so long as you're in the same general vicinity, it'll all be cool. Now, I'm going to rotate under this, and I want to think about where the spine would enter the skull, which is going to be kind of right in here. So I'm going to take that area and I'm just going to push up. Now I don't have to go too severe with this, and I don't have to do it all at once, but I'm just going to go ahead and pull it in like so. And as I rotate around this, this is starting to feel pretty good. Now, it's a little flared out on the edges here, so I'm going to change my angle and try to pull this in and get more of the back into the skull. The art of using sculpting is figuring out how to rotate around the object. It's 3 dimensions, so we need to keep moving around this over and over until we get things where we want them. This is starting to look pretty good though. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll in a little bit so I can look around, and you notice this has a good semblance of a helmet. Whether that would be a video game helmet or a motorcycle helmet, it's starting to take on that characteristic. That's a pretty good sign you're on the right track. I do need to deal with the front of the face here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the flats of my hand, push them against my cheeks like so, and when I pull them out, I see the angle that they're at. And they're canted outwards, and actually kind of in at the heels of my hand. So what I want to do, and that originates basically at the eyes. So the eyes are going to be right here. So right about this area, I'm going to try to push that in a little bit. So I need to change my angle, scroll out a little bit. I might come in from this side because I can see it better. And I'm just going to push that in, like so. Now what this is setting up for is the mandible, okay, and the front row of teeth here on the upper portion of your mouth. If you take that, you know, there's a curve there. And if you think about a cookie, if you take a bite out of a cookie, it's always curved. That's because of the curve here. So if we look here, that's starting to line up pretty well. Now, from this point, I can nudge things around quite a bit. Like, for instance, I'm going to bring this skull portion up a little bit more right here, and that helps define the jawline. And the jawline is going to cut pretty much, if you think of the skull, it's going to be pretty much right down the center of that, the way I have it right now. So if I were to draw a line up here, this is not bad. I might even pull this forward a little bit more. And I might have this overdone a little bit, but try to think of this like digital clay, and there's always a back and forth to it. Alright, so I'm happy with that shape thus far. That is very definitely reminiscent of a human head. And what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to begin inserting the eyes. And I'm going to use the inflate tool for this. It's not the only way I could go, but it's the way I'm going to go. And the eyes are going to be halfway down the height of the skull from top to bottom. And that's going to be about right in here. And also, if you feel, they more or less come together in the center at the base of your nose, right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out here, and then I'm going to work my way in, and maybe even back out at the sides. And we'll just see how that looks. But if I were to take the inflate tool and just press, I'm going to get this effect. You notice it went out. That's not the direction I want to go. I'm going to hit Control Z here to undo it. I'm going to hold my Alt this time. And before I do, I also want to have a look at my strength. My strength is a little high for this. I'm going to pull that back. Because what you want to do is you don't want to overdo it. If you have, your strength on some of these tools is too high, you can't control it. So you want to back that off. Better to do a build-up and slowly get what you want than it is to have just like a hole punched right through the skull. So here we go. I'm going to come in about right here, and I'm going to hold my Alt, and I'm just going to start making a circle. Just kind of start weaving it around. Then I'm going to push towards the base of the nose, like I'm doing right there. And you see how that's becoming very clearly skull-like. This is actually working out pretty well. I'm going to go a little deeper here and work out towards the edge, up and to the right. Very, very nice. Now I'm going to get in here, and what I want to do is I want to pull a little bit through here, and that'll help set up the nose. So I'm going to just deflate through here. See how that's beginning to define the nose area? I don't want to go any further than that though, because I'm actually going to have to come build up an area here, and I'll probably pull that nose out here in just a second. In fact, why don't I go ahead and do that now? I'm going to use my grab tool for this, and see how big it is? I'm going to zoom in a little tighter, a little tighter, and I'm going to pull out from right there. That looks about right. And when I come from the side, or rotate to the front, hit Z to center it up, boom. Now I've got this a little bit head down, but it's going to be okay. I can still work with this. I'm going to have to bring this head down a bit because you notice the features are pretty compressed. And I've almost got everything slid too low. Let me show you a neat trick if this happens to you, and it can. I really need to lift this whole thing up. So how would I do that? Well, I'm going to come in here and back way out. And if this doesn't work, I'll just hit Control Z. Slide back in a little bit, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my grab tool and lift it. How cool was that? I can push it in, pull it out. I'm thinking I like that better. That looks better. So I'm going to zoom it back in, hit Z, and that really helped straighten up a little bit of that mess I was starting to get into. And I'm glad I caught it when I did. And again, you know, when you're messing around with this, you are going to make mistakes like that. And still, even the back of this skull, even yet, when I look at it, it's a little too deep. I'm going to pull that up a little bit. I'm going to pull this in a little bit. And I'm going to continue to work this. There, that's starting to feel a lot better. Starting to feel a lot better. This is a little too deep, you know. Yeah, we're getting it in there. But I'll tell you, the grab tool is a really super useful tool. You can do quite a bit with it. I'm going to pull that back a little bit. It's a little too much. Yeah, that's really getting there now. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, so now I'm going to grab my draw tool, and again, I'm going to check my settings. Everything looks okay here. I'm going to zoom in, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up a bit of cheek structure. And if you feel your bones in your cheek, really from about the center of your eye and out towards the outside of your eye, this is where the bones, at least on my face, really seem to protrude. So I want to make sure I get that. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm just going to stroke it kind of low, like this. And I'm going to pull down a bit. And I'm overdoing it some, which is okay, because in the end, I'm going to smooth that out after I get it where I want it. So, a little too much. Hold my shift down, and then just kind of scrub over it. Especially right in here, because I got it too strong going into this area. And scrub that out. Yeah, that's way more cheek than I need, but there we go. That's looking better. Looking much better. All right, now I'm going to come in here a little bit, hold my shift and my mouse wheel down at the same time so I can lift the object up. I'm going to come through here, and I'm going to set up for the mouth. Now, everything up to this point in time has been about bones. It's been about placing bones where they belong. I'm going to get into a little bit of muscle forming here at this point, maybe a little bit early, but I have to expedite this, so I need to just throw the stuff in here so I can keep the video into a short format. So what I'm going to do is extend the cheeks here a bit and kind of make an angle going out like so. Then I'm going to come back through here and smooth it and push this in and blend it in and blend it. Because what I wanted was this ridge right here. Just a bit. Now, if you want to age a person, what you do is you add a lot of flesh to the cheek, because an older person really has a lot of volume there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start building up this area right here for the upper lip. And smooth it out. And you don't want to just go the length, you also want to go down, up and down on it, and then alternate by holding your shift and pulling a smooth on that. Now this time I'm going to pull that way. You notice the upper lip is beginning to form. Smooth. See how it's forming? You want to take your time with that. Now don't worry about that overhang yet, because we'll come back in and we'll get the lower lip in just a moment. But just think about how this would form, and that's starting to look pretty good. I need to taper it more to the outside, so I'm going to hold my smooth, and probably need to smooth it underneath a little bit. That's fine. Now, I'm going to come under here, and I'm going to start doing the bottom lip. So I'm going to lift it up again by holding my shift and my mouse wheel down so I can get up. I'm going to come from the center line, and I'm going to start coming across. Hold my smooth. Bottom lip is quite a bit thicker than the upper lip. So I'm going to add some volume to that. Smooth it out. Now the expression there is not very solid, obviously, and I feel like I need to taper this out right here. This is just overdone. So I'm going to smooth that back in. And for our purposes here, that's probably a workable mouth. I'm going to work the ear now. This is going to be interesting. Let's say that this is what I wanted right here. My ear, by the way, would be directly above my jawline where it entered the skull, and directly the top of the ear will be in line with the brow, and the bottom of the ear typically is somewhere around your nose. So we're talking about basically from here to here. And what I'm going to use for that is the draw tool, but I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to have to run my size down a little bit. Not quite that much. A little touchy. Then I'm going to hold my control down, and I'm going to paint an arc in. Sizable arc. I'm going back and forth on it in a curve. This is more or less where the ear would go. Need that to be pretty uniform. We'll start with that. I'm going to zoom out. I can make that work. Then I hit Control, hold Control and hit I, which reverses. This is a mask, and what's going to happen here in a second is I'm going to pull. I have to pick the proper angle of the head, which is going to be something like that, because what I have to do is pull to the side, and I want an angle. And if I do it from here, then what will happen is that ear will angle out like this, which is what I need. So I'm going to just turn it like so, scroll out so that I can get my circle around my ear here like this. Now watch. Then I scroll in. I'm going to add a bit more ear to it. Alright, this is probably a good place to talk about primary, secondary, and tertiary detail. In sculpting, in this case, and I've got to make that more or less a realistic size, I'm going to pull it out a little bit, like that. Work around it so I can get it so that when you see it from the front, it doesn't look like gills on a fish. And I might need to actually thicken this up a little bit. I'll draw a ridge on it if I need to. But in terms of the detail of an ear, ears aren't that detailed, or at least in most cases people never really look at an ear. So as long as you have something up there that resembles an ear, it's a placeholder in terms of your detail. It works like this. I'm going to hit Control A, which will deselect everything, and we have basically an ear on here. It's not the best one I've ever done, but this is just for fun anyway. So look at this. If you were to look at this, you would know that that was a person. Now that ear's a little funky, but the fact of the matter is your attention is here in the face. This is where you want people looking. This is your primary concern right here across the eyes. Secondary focus would be the features of the face other than the eyes would be your nose, your mouth, your cheeks, and all that. And tertiary, the third level, would be moving from the center of the face out to the sides. And so once we get out here, you can put some detail on it, but the truth of the matter is if you put too much on there, you kind of defeat the purpose because people will look out there rather than where you want them to look. So I'm going to go ahead and add like a little detail to it. By what I'm hitting there is the draw tool, and I'm just going around and I'm creating a ridge. And you might say, well, Mr. Deckard, I don't know what ears actually look like, and the fact of the matter is most people don't. There'll be a tab right here, almost always. I'm going to flatten that a little bit after I've built it up. There'll be a tab here. There'll be a ridge. You can feel that on your ear. There'll be an earlobe. So long as you have those major portions, the rest of it just isn't going to matter. So I'm going to put a little bit more ridge on that so it's visible. It doesn't even have to be uniform. That's the cool thing about an ear. You just have to have something that kind of reminds you of an ear, and it becomes an ear. See? That's all there is to it. And for what we're doing, that's perfectly fine. Now, if you're working off a photograph and you want to get it exact, okay, fine. You know, that's another matter altogether. The truth of the matter is that ear's a little small for what we're doing here. I should have probably extended it down to the tip of the nose. And that's kind of obvious whenever you put it in this view. I actually can cheat this a little bit. I can take that grab tool. Want to see me cheat it again? And I can adjust it. I can pull that down. Oh, look. The ears are better. I can pull it down even more, but I'm going to leave it at that for now. All right, so for our purposes today, that's probably going to be about enough. I think that's going to be pretty close to the time limit that I wanted to have. If I were to take more time, I would work eyes into this. I would put in eyebrows. I would work a crease down the center here. Oh, I do want to do one more thing, though, and that is flesh out this nose a little bit more. And I'm going to use, because this is just going to take a second, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the inflate tool, and I'm just going to inflate here a bit. And you want to just kind of look around here and make sure that you don't overdo it. That's pretty good. I'm going to zoom in tight. I'm going to move this in. I'm going to hold my Alt. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of move through here and create a crease. See that? So that's pretty good. Then I'm going to come underneath, hold my Alt, really zoom in tight, and form the nostrils. Again, don't overdo that. You don't need much. Well, look at that. Do you like it? Did it take too long? Are you looking forward to class tomorrow? All right. This is Mr. Deckard signing off.